Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I have with me here Myisha Smith, our corporate training director for Pacifca Hotels. My name is Marty Abel, and I am the marketing campaign specialist here at Interplay Learning, where we provide on-demand skilled trades training to create better careers and better lives for your workforce. While we're waiting for a couple more people to join us today, please take a second to answer the poll in the chat to let us know that you're here today. But first, a little housekeeping before we get started. All attendees will be muted for the duration of the webinar. To let us know that you're here today, take some time to answer that poll. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them in your question box in the Zoom control panel. We will also address your questions at the end of the webinar. In addition to that, you'll receive a webinar replay link in the next 24 hours after we have concluded the session. Now, I'd like to introduce our hospitality training expert, Myisha Smith, from Pacifca Hotels. With over 20 years of experience in training in the hospitality industry, Myisha has brought her exceptional passion to Pacifca, where she takes the title as Corporate Training Director for the hotel brand. Myisha joined the Pacifca team back in 2021, where the company was faced with historical turnover and a lack of organized training for the employees and hotel engineers. This training consisted mostly of hands-on training, which is great, but not scalable across multiple properties. So when she was searching for a new employee onboarding solution on the web, she discovered Interplay and noticed their on-demand training platform, which was highly valuable to her team's needs. Later on, Myisha met up with Interplay's team at the CHART conference for hospitality companies in the fall of last year, where she solidified this bond between the two brands that we share now. Thank you for being here today, Myisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for joining. Me and Marty are good old pals now. We've spent a lot of time together, as well as the Interplay team. We've been really good partners over the last year, so I'm happy to be here and share a little bit of insight on our last year with Interplay.
Yes, I'm so excited to hear about how all the progress you guys have made since implementation. I mean, it was just since last fall that you started, but you've really scaled it across your properties and found multiple different ways to utilize the training. So I'm super excited to be here and dig in today with you.
Thank you.
Yes. And also I want to say thank you for having me at Pacifca here in the headquarters. Everyone's been so friendly. The design of everything is immaculate. And all I have to say is whenever I get some more PTO, I will be staying at a Pacifca hotel location, depending on your recommendation, of course.
Well, we look forward to staying at any of our 28 properties, all up and down the coast and more to come. But yes, please call me, text me, and I'll let you know which one I highly recommend, which would be all of them.
I'm thinking maybe the Hawaii one. We'll see.
Can't go wrong in Hawaii.
Right. But vacay aside, we're glad to have you all here today, and we're ready to learn from a digital training trailblazer like yourself, Myisha, to gather some insight on what it really takes to establish and manage a successful hotel maintenance training program, because you've done a great job this far.
Thanks.
And for everyone in the audience, you can see our key topics of discussion on the slides that we'll be diving into today during the duration of the webinar. You can expect to apply these insights into your own training program or even as a recommendation to your boss or training manager regarding your current training strategy. And speaking of recommendations, our first topic of discussion is on recruitment and onboarding to serve as a benefit to your business. So Myisha, could you give us some insight into how Pacifca has really been able to scale their overhead efforts across multiple properties to improve the recruiting and onboarding process for managers and employees alike?
Yes, great question. Thank you for asking. So really, we have over 28 properties. And when we were looking at just our development program overall, we wanted to ensure that our team and our properties had development and training for all. And so what we found was there was a little bit of lack of development in our maintenance or development tools and actually just development tools and systems for our maintenance and engineers. And so we really wanted to have training specific for those team members because they're so important to our properties and ensuring the safety and overall maintenance of our properties. So we were able to really look into Interplay to see how it was going to fit us across the board on everywhere from the GM buy-in to the maintenance team or even house teams buy-in as far as this is going to be a good resource for them. So we were really excited to introduce Interplay. And it's been great, well received so far.
It's wonderful to hear. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have integrated the program into your own LMS, but also have our product skill mill as well.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes. And so that is, when we were looking for development resources and training resources, when we encountered Interplay and everything that you guys offered, your team offered, it was something that was really unheard of as far as development platforms, really making it easy to integrate, utilizing the single sign-on, which is through Skill Mill, and then or then adding it to our LMS. So as far as the Skill Mill single sign-on, it was so easy to use for our users, but we also wanted to make sure that we were able to incorporate it to our LMS so we can see and measure how often maybe our housekeeping team would use some of the resources versus always having to have them have an individual single sign-on. So when we started the onboarding process, we were able to implement right away in the first day the welcome assessment that Interplay introduced, so we can gauge the skill set of our new team members and then kind of curate a program that will help them and support them, develop them ongoing, online and on side-by-side training.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all are really prioritizing mandatory safety training. And we're going to get in more into this in a little bit,
Yes.
but can you just give us a little bit of a preview of that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to make sure we were doing was empowering our employees to learn and to stay engaged. And some of our team members are tenured. I mean, we have chief engineers and maintenance team members that have been with us for over 20 years. And so we never want to take away that their experience or what they've done, but we also want to make sure that they know how much we appreciate them and we still want to invest in their development. So when we talked about empowering our employees, we wanted to make sure that there was an understanding of and a commitment to them for development, whether tenured or a new skill set. And then you factor in the safety part of it, right? So safety is so important, I'm sure, to all of us, and really utilizing the safety training on Skill Mill as a different option. I mean, the videos on Interplay are so interactive and they're so different and so engaging and so relevant compared to some of the safety videos that have been around in the industry for so many years. So it was awesome to see and incorporate those into our training, our everyday training for our maintenance and engineer teams.
Yes, absolutely. I really like how you mentioned the part about, really valuing your tenured employees and their skill sets, but also like having a baseline and getting everyone on the same page, but also respecting their skill sets and their expertise. Like, that's amazing. I love hearing about empowering employees and how we can work together to really help you guys in that mission. So.
Yeah, and to the last point one of the last points on this slide was just the continuing education credits. And so we've seen, even just with our team over the last couple of months, we've just seen this amazing amount of points earned and, more questions about getting education credits and different things that are happening on the Skill Mill and through Interplay right now, as far as certifications for more of the stronger skill sets or diving in a little bit deeper into a specific skill set. So it's been fun and challenging and a little bit, it's kind of getting a little bit competitive as far as amongst our regions on how many of our engineers are watching the videos and completing the courses. Yeah. Who has the points and so on and so forth. So it's been a fun competitive training also, which is important.
Yeah, it sounds like a very constructive, competitive learner competition, if you ask
Yes.
me.
I mean,
Well, awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are really thinking smarter and not harder, really scaling your efforts, offering training to everyone involved is super important when you're trying to empower your employees.
yes.
So that. I also wanted to point out the fact that you guys found us as a simple solution for onboarding and hiring, kind of reducing that friction in the process. But now you guys have opened up your possibilities and capabilities within the training platform,
Yeah.
like career advancement, like really solidifying their skills if they need a little help in one area or another. So
Yeah.
I just really like how you guys have identified those opportunities.
Yes.
And I also wanted to say safety training, like a lot of times people see safety training and regular upskilling in totally different platforms, but y'all really bundled those together and have it all in one place to simplify the process. Again, simplifying the onboarding process too, in return. But yeah, that's just really awesome how you guys bundled all of that. And I'm glad that's working out for you so far.
Absolutely. Yes, we've been able to incorporate Interplay into our onboarding process, into our recruiting process, really heightening and making sure that our new team members know the commitment that we have to their development. And then when we talk about safety, we're really able to incorporate the platform in multiple ways across all of our properties, and even incorporate into our monthly focuses that we send out to the properties every month. And so some are very specific to making sure that we log on and watch the Interplay videos, or we have them already on the LMS as continued education and development for through the year, which is exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, I know that y'all just implemented the program back in the fall of last year, but what kind of proactive measures are you guys taking in terms of reducing work orders and friction in the future to play into our next topic?
Well, when we think about the work orders, what we're really trying to help and to eliminate is just how often we're calling third-party contractors to do contracts to do some of the simpler projects on our properties, because some of our skill sets of our maintenance team or engineer teams were fairly new and didn't have as much experience, but they had the attitude and the effort to really get the job. We wanted to make sure that once they're in it, that they're knowledgeable and they're credible. So helping eliminate third-party contractors is really just, as at this point, is really saying we can do some of the smaller jobs way more confidently, or we're not making as many mistakes because we weren't sure how to fix the HVAC, or we tried but it didn't work, or we were referencing YouTube, which is still a great resource, but it might have missed a step. So that's really kind of how we're making sure that our team feels knowledgeable and confident and credible amongst each other, so they can do their jobs a little bit more confidently and with the knowledge that they need.
Yeah. And as far as like preventative measures, seasonal measures, how is Pacifca really strategizing your training program for the year to get ahead of those work orders and reduce that friction, and maybe a couple work orders piling up when it's the hotter summer months and ACs maybe aren't running as well as they should?
Yeah, I mean, when we were looking into just development platforms for engineers in our maintenance team, we really wanted to look at it over like a 3 to 5 year project, and really recognizing what was the most important thing in the first year. And so what we determined was one of the first things that were a priority for us was the engagement, and that the buy-in that this process in this development platform was going to be applicable and easy to use. And so we found that there's obviously an effort that everyone needs to do to ensure that everything that we sign up for and that we believe in, our others believe in, including the GMs at the properties down to our maintenance team. But by doing that, we also recognize that we wanted to really hone in on the preventative efforts that we can do for our teams and our properties. So because we know that being preventative is way more cost effective than being reactive. Right. So we focused in on quarterly having curated courses through Interplay that will be assigned to our engineers to give them a challenge of saying, this is a time that currently we are going to have, we are focusing on HVAC. in the hotel industry, typically this is the slower season for us. But to our surprise, and we're so excited about it, actually hasn't been that slow. We're actually really doing well, and everyone's out traveling still. So, but typically this is our slower season. So strategically, we planned in this quarter to have our engineers be assigned the HVAC fundamentals, so they can really start honing in on the fundamentals of HVAC and how to be preventative about fixing them, repairing them, or ensuring that they're going to work through the entire summer season and some of the spring season, because we know it starts getting up to the 90s and 100s in the spring also. So we just really wanted to make sure that they felt prepared and that they had the time to review the courses so they can be preventative and start acting right away for the air conditioning, so our guests and our team members are comfortable through those hot days.
That's super insightful. So you guys are really strategizing by season and getting ahead of those needs that you've already previously identified. I know sometimes people have a hard time identifying when to train, but letting the seasons tell you when to train is super brilliant on its own. So I like that a lot.
Yes.
And then I also want to say a lot of maintenance business owners should like that strategy as well, really like taking that time to refine their team skill sets, make sure that they're confident on the job and feel empowered to make those repairs. It's just a really great plan and all, so I appreciate that. And then I also wanted to bring us up to our next question, which is, if you may, could you give us a little detail into how you guys are utilizing on-demand training in English and Spanish, and how this has really led to a happier hotel for all, and not to mention a safer hotel for your employees and your guests involved?
Yeah, when we were at the forefront of looking for development tools and systems for our teams, one of the first questions we ask is your website or your training in multiple languages? And with the partnership that Interplay and I had already had in the beginning, it was refreshing to hear them say, absolutely, we have our content in Spanish and English. And if it's not in Spanish yet, we're working on it to be in Spanish because there's so many courses on their skill mill. But it was just refreshing because they've already thought of the things that trainers are thinking about and our engineers and maintenance team are thinking about. So the on-the-go training, as far as the relevance of the training, that it's in multiple languages, that it could be short trainings to courses long, that it could be a couple hours, but you could do it as needed or on the go. So we really, and the capabilities as far as even us transferring it into an iPad that our maintenance team and engineers use in our rooms daily, that we can transfer the website onto the iPad and they can reference it in the rooms, even to help them complete a project or to make sure that they're doing it correctly, as far as the simple things that some of our engineers might have to look up just in case.
And do you guys use the iPads like while training hands-on in person, and then the employees are also allowed to take that on the job while they're servicing a unit? Or how does that work as far as accessing the training on the job versus hands-on training sessions as a group?
So similar to probably most of you, our engineers, our maintenance team, they are working all the time and they don't have a lot of time to sit behind a desk and watch videos. Although we do encourage them to take time out of their day, their week, or their quarter to ensure that they are having that time to really just watch a video and learn something through the courses that we've assigned. But we also realistic, and we know that the job is very demanding. So we had iPads already incorporated into their uniform, as far as we call them Alice tablets, and they are able to utilize these tablets to put in work orders or do preventative maintenance in the rooms. But now on that tablet, we can add skill mill, and they can reference the courses that maybe they've watched or that they remember watching, and just kind of use it as is this the correct tool, or is this the correct way to move the gauge on the toilet, or any of those things. So it is really we've made it so easy for them to kind of use it as needed in the rooms or on the property.
It's awesome to hear. And I know that you guys probably aren't focusing on this right now, but a lot of people in the hospitality industry are really concerned about minimizing mistakes while servicing units. So could you explain a little bit about how you guys are tracking mistakes on the job or how that could be a benefit in the future? Just reducing those mistakes and really empowering your employees to feel confident in their jobs and what they're doing.
Yeah, no, we're not necessarily tracking mistakes yet. We really like to celebrate the wins.
Absolutely.
However, if we were to track something similar, it would be, potentially maybe year over year, we didn't have to call out third-party contractors to repair something that maybe we made a mistake in. And then really it's just building the confidence and knowledge of our team eliminates mistakes, right? So the credibility, the efficiency amongst the team, sometimes when you have new team members with less skill set and you're always relying on the more tenured chief engineer or a maintenance person to kind of work side by side with you to ensure that the job is getting done well, but then that now you have two people doing one job versus, that other engineer doing something else. So it really does kind of make it more efficient if we're able to train and spend the time training, whether watching videos or side by side early on, then it's kind of builds this community of knowledge and credibility and trust amongst our teams so we can divide and conquer.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as safety training, compliance, OSHA 10, could you go into a little more detail about how Pacifca is utilizing those capabilities and how it's empowering your technicians and engineers and helping them advance in their career?
Yes. So as we mentioned before, safety is so important to all of us, for our guests and our team. So we really incorporated, ensuring that the safety courses, that they're assigned courses in their onboarding and their onboarding and training in the first week of training team members. And so we really made sure there was we've selected the courses that they must watch, that they're mandated through Interplay. Again, introducing them to the platform really early on, helping them recognize that it's great content on there and it's easy to follow and it's in Spanish and English. And then as we continue to assign different courses throughout the year, throughout the quarter, they're like, oh yeah, I remember this site and how great the videos were. So we've incorporated that safety training compliance very early on, which does help with the audits, whether it's OSHA, the hotel branded audits that we have, or our internal audits that we have to ensure that our buildings are safe and secure.
Yeah, keeping everyone safe and secure is very big priority. And I really like how y'all prioritized it over, some other priorities that some people may have as ROI or really upskilling fast. So it sounds like y'all are really being safe and efficient with that.
Yes.
So I wanted to say also that preventative maintenance or preventative safety can't be addressed if it's not, strategized in advance. A lot of people think of the after effects or just staying compliant, but like we've said, strategizing, getting ahead is the way to go.
Yes, and planning for the future.
Absolutely. And on that, I want to say that to our audience, we're making our way down through our topic discussions. So I just want to remind you all that to submit your questions to us to answer before the conclusion of our webinar. But we have one more slide planned for you guys, so keep the questions coming. All right. Now, we grazed the surface of this earlier, but in terms of Pacifca's keeping track of your initial training investment, how are you guys managing this? I know it can take a lot of time to really put a number down to how that investment paid off. So could you just give us some insight into what y'all's plans are for tracking ROI and how you are currently measuring the overall success of your employees and the training program overall?
Yes, absolutely.
Long-winded question.
So really, the ROI when it comes to the first year is it's just the engagement of our team. We came in, I came into the training role in Pacifca over a year ago, and that was right after COVID. And so there was a lack in engagement to our systems, a lack of training because we hadn't been training for so long. So it was really important for us to have relevant information going out to our teams, and really a buy-in from anyone from the executive level at Pacifca down to our housekeeping team, our managers on property, our GMs on property, and then our directors of engineers that oversee all the engineers throughout the company. So really the return on investment for us was just this engagement piece, that we wanted our teams to know that we invest in them and we believe in them, and that we have searched high and low for the right content for them to learn from, and that's going to be relatable and relevant to what they're doing every day. So that's really where we're kind of at with our ROI for the first year, is just this team engagement, and we are able to see that and recognize that through Skill Mill and through Interplay, as far as seeing how many members have signed up, how many members have actually watched the courses, how many have completed different courses and assigned trainings, how many have completed the welcome assessments. So we're really able to measure it actually through your website, which is great. And we've actually had some fun doing it, because we've sent out incentives for the first 5 engineers to complete trainings every quarter, and then they get some swag and some merch sent out to them, and they are highlighted, in our quarterly, in our quarterly flyers, as far as recognizing our team members and our teams. And so it's been fun to just see this engagement and this challenge amongst our regions and our chief engineers and maintenance teams to complete courses. So there was an absolute buy-in really quickly, because they felt that it was relevant information that they can learn from.
Yeah, I like how you touched on the incentive part of it. You can have the training there, but if you're not incentivizing and encouraging your employees to use it, then what's the good? I mean, what kind of incentives have y'all had in the past? I know you have career advancement opportunities, and kind of, showcasing that through internal communications. So what has really gotten your employees excited the most? Is it the swag? Is it the recognition? What does that kind of look like?
I think it's really just this mindful attitude towards assigning courses. And so we're really trying to, again, stay preventative and making sure that they are, ready for the summer season. So we've had two incentives so far since we've started up with Interplay. We had one of just overall engineer courses that we wanted our engineers to, whether tenured or, newer to our company, we wanted everyone to watch these engineer courses to ensure that, we were all on the same page as far as the focuses and what was actually happening on property, and then that were being developed online. And then we did safety. So we made sure that we incorporated all safety into onboarding and their first week of training. And now we're focusing in on HVAC. So I think it really was, yes, they get some cool swag and they get, the shouts out for being the first 5, but we've been able to recognize engineers in every area. So it's not just the LA engineers are really have time to complete these courses and they're like, okay, we're going to win. It's literally, there's engineers in every region, from Central Coast to LA to San Diego, that we've been able to recognize publicly when we see them, and or through our internal recognition.
Yeah. So kind of what I'm hearing is really investing in your employees in-house is going to be your return on investment.
Yeah.
Not having to go find new employees, onboard them again, even though you have a great process in place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be challenging and it's costly. And maybe that new engineer that you hired wasn't as skillful or has as much knowledge as the previous engineer on the property. Because like you said, there's specifics that, maybe Skill Mill isn't filling in those gaps for, because every hotel is unique. So just getting that investment back through really prioritizing your employees. I like that.
Thank you.
All righty. And this brings us to our Q&A session. So everyone, I hope that you've had the chance to put your questions in the chat. We will be going through them now. So the first question that I have here for us today, it is number 1. As a training director for hotel facilities who's responsible for managing and improving current training program for the hotel, how do you recommend that I organize and strategize designated training time for our engineering team?
That's a great question. So, we want to be as realistic as possible. And we know, like we mentioned before, that engineers are busy, our maintenance team is busy. But when we brought on Interplay, we really introduced it to our leadership team, our executives and GMs and managers of the properties. So they understood and they were able to buy into the importance of developing our engineers. So they can encourage our chief engineers and our maintenance teams to take the time to train and to take the time to watch the videos when there's downtime during the week, or to incorporate it in your, the beginning of the day or the end of the day, or to just ensure that the assigned courses are completed. So it really started from the executive level to making sure that the team feels supported and that there is time to and commitment to focus to develop yourself, which is so important. So I would suggest that you ensure that that everyone's involved in this development process and that we all take it as a priority. And whether it's the beginning of the day, the end of the day, if the focus is over a quarterly, because we are in the industry where we're always moving and every day is a little bit different, then it kind of helps streamline and prioritize the days for the engineers, or the months, or maybe even 3 months if the assignments go over a quarter, which we've done because we want to make sure that they're completing them, but they have enough time to do it as well.
Yeah, I really like the part where you said it starts from the top down, the buy-in. I mean, if you're not promoting the training to your employees, it's really hard for them to get a start and engage and utilize the sources that are there for that. So that's really awesome. And I also like how you guys have an open opportunity to your employees on when they can fit in that training. It's still, you need to do your training, but you get a little more freedom with it, which is super unique because, like you said, not every day is the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think employee freedom and empowerment is super important.
And then we can track it because on your on the website and on SkillMill, you can see who's completed the courses. And if we're finding that it's coming up on the deadline or any of those things, we can nudge them a little bit more. We can call directly and say, hey, do you have time this week so we can complete the courses? So there is avenues that we are able to track it through SkillMill, which is really nice and helpful from Interplay.
Yes, and we actually have some analytics tools on the way.
Yes.
Let's just say that, but more to come.
You heard it here first.
Exactly. Next question we have here. So from an operational standpoint, what was the original onboarding process like? And was there an alternate solution before implementing Interplay's training program? And I think this is in reference to your original problem of hiring and onboarding, kind of reducing the friction there. So if you weren't onboarding with Interplay and didn't have the program, what would be that alternate solution, whether that's HandsOn or another platform?
I think it would just be more hands-on and probably not as structured, as solidified as we have it now. So now there's, a couple steps and there's different options as far as just a variety of ways to onboard and implementing not only peer-to-peer training and the interview and the conversations that you have during onboarding, but it creates more structure through the onboarding. So there is an assessment that will help us gauge the skill set and then do the training schedule accordingly, right? So if we know that we have a new hire that might be really good in plumbing, but doesn't have as much skill in or experience in HVAC, then maybe we structure their training to be more towards HVAC, and we're setting him up with training with one of our teams that's really good at HVAC, and we don't really have to focus so much on the plumbing because he already has his expertise in that. So it's really helps us solidify and structure the training more appropriately, so we're not wasting time, and it's really efficient for the new team member and for the team that's training.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to hate the word waste,
I
but
know. Wanna be more
waste,
efficient of
more
our time.
efficient. Yes, you don't want to, yeah, you want to be more efficient with your tenured employees' time. I know some people in the past have talked about like filming training and then putting it on, but it's not scalable that way. And your tenured employees don't frankly have that much time. So I really like how y'all strategize, baselining the knowledge here, improving it there, and knowing when hands-on training is necessary. So filling in the gaps there.
Yes.
All righty, and this brings us to our next question. In terms of performance, have you noticed an improvement in employees' confidence when they're completing service requests?
I think it's, it kind of goes back to what we mentioned before. The service requests are done with a little bit more confidence, especially from our younger team member or our less tenured or skilled team members. And there's an established credibility as far as just ensuring that if, I got the work order and now I'm going in the room and someone's going to check my work, that it's done. And so the credibility starts and the trust starts there amongst the team. And, we're not passing off work orders because we don't know how to do it. And I think that's really where you start seeing the improvement of performance through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like, just offering that platform to really put the training in the employees' hands for them to feel empowered and do the job right the first time and not having to call their manager is truly a benefit on its own for everyone involved. Awesome. Making our way down here to question number 4 that was submitted. How does a hospitality director of engineering like myself test and assess a hotel engineer's true skill set before hiring them for the job that they're applying for?
Well, I can't speak for, I can try to speak for the team that are on the field doing the interviews, but I would imagine that it really came from just the questions, right? You start asking a little bit about their experience and maybe kind of dive into more specifics because you know that what you need them for on the property. So maybe you need them a little bit more for painting or maybe it's a little bit more general maintenance or for bigger properties or larger properties, it might be more specific. So I'm sure that the questions were curated in an interview process to just the comfort level of the team, the new hire that they're potentially hiring.
Right.
But now we're able to kind of integrate the conversation and engagement that we've had with that employee to now assessment, so we can help gauge and, like we talked about before, structure the training specifically for that person, whether watching a couple more videos, being specific to which person we're going to train them with, which is really good for us too, and it creates efficiency and more, and better use of time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of taking that personal interview approach, and maybe in the future, y'all can even really streamline those skill sets and compare candidates evenly on, this is how they performed on this assessment.
Yes.
Or pre-employment kind of path. Have y'all explored those any at all during the onboarding process?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's so much to the platform that we're so excited about. And, every time I log on, there's like new courses and new things that I'm so interested in. So, as we start getting into really recognizing what we've accomplished through the year, our first year, we'll start diving into what the needs are for additional years that we've signed up.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I love to hear that. It sounds like you have a lot of creative ways to really utilize the platform. So I can't wait to see how Pacifca brings those to life.
Yes.
All righty. This is our next question. Have your managers noticed a difference in trainees' engagement while they're in hands-on training sessions as a team post implementation of Interplay?
Yes. So more hands are going up for career advancement and internal promotions. So our maintenance and our engineers want more. They want to be chief engineers. They want to be regional engineers. They want to oversee multiple properties. There's other departments, our housemen and our housekeeping team, they are saying, well, can I be a maintenance person? Can I be an engineer? What is it going to take? So we're getting a lot more raised hands for what does the development look like and where can I go? So we're able to provide development paths for them that integrate interplay and watching certain courses and really kind of perfecting their skills so they can be strong leaders for us, which is really exciting.
Yes, I feel like the theme of this webinar has been empowering your employees through additional learning opportunities and upskilling opportunities.
Yes.
So it seems like a real human approach, and I really like that about Pacifca.
Thanks.
And then moving on to our next question. What is in store for Pacifica's training plans for the program by the end of this year and even beyond? So to give some ideas for our audience.
Yeah, again, I think for the first year why we signed up with Interplay and Scale Mill is really the engagement, the belief in our and commitment into training and developing our team members. That was the first one, and that's really where we're at. Now we're looking at the retention, or once we're hired, are they staying with us longer because they feel they feel a purpose, they feel that there's a commitment to them to learn and to grow within our company. And so those are the first, 2 or 3 strategies that we really wanted to make sure that was top of mind in 2023. And I really feel like with the engagement, with the completion of courses, with the challenges amongst regions on who's completing the most, and even the internal promotions that we're able to celebrate, and all of those different things, that's been our reward so far, and that was our strategy in the first year. As we're heading into the second year in 2024, we're going to look at a little bit more year over year of third-party contractors being called out, the expenses going into properties, what we're able to really be more preventative in. And so whether it's air conditionings or, the small refrigerators in hotels and all of those different things that go out pretty often, incorporating the preventative side of that and ensuring that the training is there and that we're not having to replace so many things because we're being more reactive than preventative. And that's kind of the strategy for 2024.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Getting ahead, right?
Yes. Yes. Getting ahead and staying ahead.
Absolutely. And I know that you guys have really been taking a one-to-one approach with your employees and their paths and really care about their internal needs and promotions. So I would also say that that's probably still in the books for the remainder of the year too, that one-to-one approach, and not so much a blanket, if you're an engineer, you're going to become this next. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, we even when we started the program and we really were looking into bringing this onto our platform, we wanted to incorporate and test with engineers before we even signed the contract to ensure that this was relevant information. So I'm really proud to say that one of our chief engineers that had been with the company for a long time was really able to look at this development piece and buy into it and believe in it. And he was able to really nudge his maintenance team and say, no, this is good stuff. And now through that and through all of his hard work and just the buy-in and development of his teams, he's actually developed himself through a personalized plan, and he's now the corporate director of engineering. So Jason, shout out to you. We're so excited for you. And he's been a great partner with me, just ensuring that this information was relevant and this development was relevant for him and his team out in the field. So we appreciate him, and I'm excited to share his promotion to the Chief Director of Engineering.
That is awesome. Congrats to you, Jason. We love to hear that. I'm going to check here for some more questions from the audience. 1 second. Oh, here we are. Alrighty, it looks like we don't have any further questions from our audience here. But thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate you attending the conversation with Myisha and I. Now, as a reminder, you can receive that webinar link in 24 hours. And we really hope that this helps with managing your hotel and scaling training. Whether you're a hotel, resort, or an entire enterprise, I hope that this training session was valuable to you, and good luck with all your training endeavors. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you later.